But there's different things that people spend money on because it's important to them to spend on that specific thing. But I think it's just building that awareness of how much is really coming out of your budget every month.
The following is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Please consult a professional before making any financial decisions. For your reference, our full disclaimer will be displayed at the end of the episode. Hello and welcome to the Building Wealth from Scratch podcast, where we talk about personal finance for first-time wealth builders. We are your hosts, Jerry and Bianca. We're so thrilled that you're here with us today. Today we have an amazing topic. We're going to be talking about budgeting. Dun, dun, dun. You know, it's one of those things that people think that budgeting is supposed to prevent you from spending money, but the way you really need to look at it is you're giving yourself permission to spend money. It's just more in a controlled manner.
Yeah. So I think to start off, I want to share our budgeting story and how we started and why we started. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. So back in 2017, we had recently gotten married. We moved out to San Diego. Jerry was an active duty Marine at that time. I had just graduated college, and it was like around, we got our first apartment together, which was like a big deal in California. And I just remember just being in awe of that I'm in California, living this life. And then we started buying furniture, and then all of a sudden Jerry was like, there's no more money in our bank account to buy more furniture. And mind you, we were buying our furniture from IKEA. It wasn't anything fancy.
Well, we only had one income.
Yes.
And I was a corporal at that time, which is you get paid pretty much close to nothing.
Yeah, so it was definitely one of those aha moments. And I was like, where's all the money? Where did it go? I haven't spent anything. So that was really the beginning. And we started actually going into okay, where exactly is the money going to? Because I have no idea. And so it really, what we ended up doing was we ended up printing the previous 3 months from our bank statements. And during that time, I believe your captain at that point in time recommended you this book, which is The Automatic Millionaire by Dave Batch. And this book, it literally opened my mindset. I was like, whoa, I have the power to become a millionaire. And that was a big deal to me. A lot of the principles that were taught in here was something that was very, it was just mind blowing, because I graduated with a major in business, and I took some I took some finance classes. And so just learning a little bit more about personal finance from this standpoint was just mind blowing to me, because I had only learned it from more so from a business standpoint. So
I think just to add on to the book, the reason it was an aha moment for both of us was because it teaches you that you have to live within your means, that you have to be responsible with your money. And that's a shock to us, because one, we were young, we were just recently married. And then two, reality is we live in a society that tells you got to spend. You got to live on credit cards. You got to do the next best thing. So going from that mindset to this, it's a big shift. It's a culture shock. And I think that was the big aha that I got from this book, and I highly recommend it, because it really just teaches you that no matter how much money you make, you just need to live it within your means.
Yeah, and definitely, I think there's just multiple messages. And this was I remember just learning so many concepts and just being like, whoa, I didn't know. So I think I definitely enjoyed this book a lot. And that's what really was okay, let's do this. Let's start budgeting. Also, because, I was like, we need to be mindful about where we're spending. We only have one income, and California is expensive. And this is back before, groceries spiked up to the way that it is right now. So it was really being more mindful about how can I save money? How can I make sure that we have enough, managing more our expenses. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is that most people usually know their fixed expenses. It's usually their variable expenses that they don't know, which we'll go ahead and cover that today. So what I did was I did it in pen and paper, actually. So I wrote everything out, and we're going to go over also that as well. But I started off writing it out. And then from there, after 3 months, I actually started on an Excel spreadsheet. And then from there, I built my own Excel spreadsheet. And then from there, now I'm in Tiller, which is like it automatically downloads your transactions from your bank account.
So what Bianca is trying to say is that it's a progression. It doesn't happen overnight. It's just like going to the gym. You got to start one day at a time, and then eventually it's going to compound into more and bigger and better things. So that's why today we're going to break it down, but we're going to make it actionable because at the end of the day, we want people to take action. We don't want to overcomplicate things. We don't want it to make it intimidating, because then that's going to prevent a lot of people from actually prioritizing themselves and their future selves. So we'll get started. So the first thing, before you write anything out, before you do anything, you first got to understand your mindset, your money mindset. And a lot of people don't think about this, but the reality is 90% of financial planning and financial literacy is all habits. It's all emotional and mental and, biases that we have. And they tie back to the way we grew up, the way our parents see money, the way that society sees money. All these things are ingrained in us, and that's what gives us our mindset of how we're going to see and think about money.
Right.
I know a lot of people say that having too much money is bad because it makes you evil. That is an emotional belief or an attitude that will affect the way you see and handle money. So before you do anything, you have to understand that. How do you see it? How do you identify money? And I like to use a really, really good question that I learned from Value-Based Financial Planning by Bill Backrack. Amazing book, because it teaches you the basics of financial planning. And the question that you should ask yourself to really understand your why is, what's important about money to you? So this is, again, what's important about it. It's not that you want to save 50,000, 100,000. It's why. Why is that important to you? And that's when you start unlocking the emotional aspects of what you really think about money and what money can bring you, aside from the tangible things like buying a new car or buying a house. Because when things get hard, you need an emotional backing. If not, you're going to quit.
Right. And I remember when we first did this exercise, it was really emotional. I'm pretty sure like I was pretty close to crying, just because as I went up the ladder, what money means to me is impact. It's to be a positive impact in my community. And so I think that's a bigger why than just, I want money for, just because I want to spend it. Like, that's not strong enough to, especially, I did mention this in my stories the other day. It was like, budgeting is boring. Like, eventually it gets repetitive. And so you have to have a really strong why exactly you're doing this month by month. Why are you tracking your numbers every month? So I love that you mentioned that question, and that's a great way to exercise to do either alone or together with your spouse. It was a very emotional experience. I remember that. Yeah.
And I think that's step number one. You always want to identify your why, and you want to identify what is it all for before you start this journey. The second step is you want to set reasonable goals. Everyone always wants to take a bigger bite than they can handle. I.e., they want to say they're going to start saving $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month. When in reality, if you're going to go from zero to that big of a number, you're more likely to quit or to feel discouraged because you can't achieve it, that you just stop completely. So the best thing to do is to start small. Start with $50, start with $10, whatever you can do Just get into the habit of consistently doing it. Again, it becomes a habit if you do it for more than 90 days, so they say. Same thing with money. You have to be consistent, even if it's something small, a little victory can take you a long way.
There's something psychological about it, whether if you're setting that expectation very high, then you're gonna feel very defeated when you don't meet that expectation. So it's better to just start out small. So I definitely agree with that. And I think now that once you have done this, then this moves us into, what am I spending my money in? Right?
Yeah. So now now that we have identified our why, we identified what our tangible outcome looks like, now we need to actually go in and figure out, where is my money going? And the best way to start is with a pen and paper. There's just something psychological, there's just something emotional when you handwrite something versus typing it in the computer, things like that. Like, it doesn't have the same effect versus when you're reading your own handwriting.
Right.
That hits you a little bit harder. And that's the best way to start, because again, it's just finding out where you are. That's all we want to do, is just figure out, where am I compared to where I want to be.
And I want to also add, like, it may be a little shocking when you're first doing it, and you might be like, oh my God, like, I spend this much, and I don't know, it can be something as simple as like subscriptions. Yeah. The important thing is just building awareness about it, and it's not to shame that spending habit. I think that's the biggest thing that most people are just like, yeah, like the biggest one I think I remember hearing a lot when I first started was like the coffee. Like, oh, you spend X amount on coffee, you can save some by doing it at home. But there's different things that people spend money on because it's important to them to spend on that specific thing. But I think it's just building that awareness of how much is really coming out of your budget every month.
Yeah. And going back to the way we started, it's pretty much you giving yourself permission to spend that money.
Right.
So even if you want to buy a coffee every morning, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you understand that, hey, I can't go past this much. So if you buy 2 coffees in one day, guess what? That means that by Friday, you're not going to be able to buy one.
Yeah.
That's all that means. But it doesn't mean that you got to quit cold turkey. That's not by any means what a budget is for.
And I think the next thing, which I had mentioned, was the fixed expenses and the variable expenses. With budgeting, the fixed expenses are pretty easy because you know, like, how much goes out for internet, how much goes out for rent, how much goes out for your subscriptions every month. These are fixed amounts. Like, you know exactly what's coming out. Versus variable expenses, these can fluctuate from month to month, like groceries, eating out, entertainment. These are usually the ones that I feel like most people have difficulty pinpointing a number on. And so that's the power of budgeting, because then you get to really learn a little bit more of where exactly your money is going and how much you're spending into each category.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are having issues tracking that variable cost, just take the average. So just add up the last 3. So if you spent, $100 these last 2 weeks, or let's just say these last 2 months, pardon me, $100 eating out. Well, then just take the average. So you're spending $100, $200, and just go with that. You don't have to figure it out exactly how much you're spending, because they're going to fluctuate.
Right. Some months, like, I think the grocery eating out, sometimes, like, that one fluctuates heavily. You're like, some months I'm like, feel great and I want to, cook at home. And then other months you're busy, like, you're hanging out with friends, you're hanging out with family. So the expenses can look a little different, but as long as you're tracking it and then taking that average, it's like just being more mindful about it. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. And then once you figured out all your expenses, now you got to add in all your incomes. So all sources of income. So if it's all W-2 pay, it's, rental income, or, Airbnb, whatever it is, you Uber on the side, like all these things, you need to add it in so that you get your monthly income. And then from there, you're just going to do simple math. You're going to subtract your expenses by your income. and then you should have a surplus or a deficit. Ideally, you want a surplus. If you have a surplus, that's great. That means that you are living below your means. However, if you don't have that money left over at the end of the month, that means you're still spending it.
Yeah, definitely. And so what should exactly someone do if they are experiencing a deficit?
If you have a deficit, then you should definitely look into cutting down. I mean, there's really two options. You either make more money or you reduce your expenses. Those are the two main options that you have. Probably the easiest and the one that's less backbreaking is going to be to just cut your expenses and find the expenses that you don't need. Obviously, I'm not saying to stop paying your auto insurance because you definitely need that. Maybe look for a cheaper policy. But other things like subscriptions, Netflix, things that you can live without, it's time to start cutting back until you get back to break even.
And I think that's an important point that you mentioned about earning more income. I think that was a big mindset shift for me, especially because sometimes the automatic thing is to cut expenses. But I think for me, it was like, I deserve these things. So what can I do? Or this is the type of lifestyle that I want. So what can I do to achieve the income that is going to allow me to have these things? So that was also like a big mindset shift for me.
Yeah, definitely. But the only thing I would caution is that you still understand your mindset, your money mindset, the way you see money, because these habits are going to continue no matter how much money you make. So if you're already overspending now, you're going to overspend when you do make more money. So right. I think it's still being aware of your habits, of where your money is going, and just being more in control. That's all it is. Right. Because the reality is we spend on emotion. If we feel hungry, we're going to go out and eat. If we are going out with friends and they're all buying drinks, we're all going to buy drinks. So that's very emotional. And right. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you understand that, hey, this is my budget. I want to go out and have fun, but this is how much I'm willing to spend.
Right. No, I agree with that. Definitely having those parameters within your spending. And what if you have a surplus? I think that's always like a fun one.
Well, yeah.
It's always good to have.
Now the games begin.
Yeah.
No, that's the reality. That's what you want. You want the surplus because now from there, now you can actually start doing other things. So if you want to start a hobby, or more importantly, you want to actually start saving, that's where the surplus comes in hand, because everything else has priority over savings, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality. At the end of the day, we're more willing to pay our rent or mortgage than to save money. So a lot of times people pay themselves last. And so because of that, we have to take advantage of whatever surplus we have. So if you have surplus, then that's when, hey, I'm going to start building my emergency fund. I'm going to start saving for my car. I'm going to start saving for retirement. I want to invest. That's where the surplus comes into play.
Right. No, I agree with all of that. And I think that pretty much like sums up like deficit and surplus, and now I think is the fun part, right? But and now is the fun part, building a budget. And like Jerry mentioned, it's just start on pen and paper. That's really the easiest way. Print out your previous 3 months worth of bank statements and categorize, and go in there with an open mind that it's only going to get better from here. This is just the starting point. And that I think will help in, it's always good to keep them too, to just see the progress. It's always, I still have mine. I still have because they're really good memories of just like, this is where it all started. It all started with pen and paper, writing it out. And I mean, now it's crazy seeing like, I used to think $400 in groceries was a lot, but now it's like groceries have gone up so much. So I think it's also like knowing that you are doing the best and you're trying to be mindful about your money and setting the intention with what exactly you want your money to do for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it goes back to just being a good steward with your money. And a budget definitely helps you with that, because then you get to prioritize the things you want to prioritize and not the other way around. It's better for you to have the money and say, you know what, I want to donate it. I want to do this. I want to do that. Instead of, I wish I could do that, but I can't because I have no money. And it really goes back down to just budgeting. It's just, at the end of the day, you make a certain amount of money. It just depends on how you want to allocate that money.
Right.
And that's really what a budget is for, is to help you allocate it accordingly to the wishes that you want. And that's why we go back. That's why we start with the emotional mindset. And then from there, we build on the goals that we have for ourselves.
Right. And I was also going to mention too, there's so many methods of budgeting.
Yes.
I looked up and I think there's like 18 or more than 18 that I found. And that can be very overwhelming to start off. Like, which one's the best one? I mean, I know like someone as myself that is analytical would dive into each one. And right now, like, obviously there's a starting point for everybody, but I really like value-based budgeting. I like the zero-based budgeting. But obviously, I think the easiest thing is to not get so caught up in the percentages. That comes afterwards.
Yes.
And I love getting into the percentages factor.
Bianca made her own spreadsheet, by the way.
Yeah.
So she's a nerd.
Yeah.
She created all her categories. She did all the formulas, so it does it for her. Like, she went all out.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's too much, especially for somebody like me. When you're telling me that I gotta start living within my means,
oh my gosh,
I feel attacked. And then on top of that, I have to learn how to use this spreadsheet. It can get overwhelming. So I think, again, it's a process. Start off with the pen and paper. Once you feel confident with it, once you understand your actual money, because most people don't even understand how much they make. They don't. The only time they actually know is when they're paying or they're doing their tax return. They're like, why does my W-2 say I made this much? I feel like I only made half of that.
Right.
And by then it's too late.
Yep. No, I agree with that. And it's so funny that you say that, but we're talking about, like, I'm about to be, I think 8 years of budgeting. So it was like, it didn't happen overnight. It was like as the years went on, I started taking on more and more. And in the beginning, it was a little overwhelming, but the more you do it, the easier it gets, and everything's a journey. So I actually wanted to recommend another book that I started reading. It's A Latina's Guide to Money by Eva Macias. This was a book that I read also, and goes over a lot of concepts too, and it touches on budgeting as well. And that was very helpful for me, just to like understand what I was doing and just trying to get better and become more mindful about our spending. And now it's like, does this bring me joy? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go and use it because I know I'm being a good steward with my money. So
yeah, and I think you brought up a great point, is you want to make this budget yours. Mm-hmm. And I think the big mistake that I see people do is that they download a budget template online and then they try to make it their own. And it never works because it's not for you. It's generic. The reality is you have to create your own budget because you are your own person. You have your own goals, your own mindset, your own desires. That's the problem that I see. It's everyone tries to fit, one size fits all, and it's really not.
Right. No,
you have to make it your own.
You want to fit into this box when you have this template, and it's like you have your own unique experiences of what's going on. Like I remember the haircuts. Remember when that was like a big part of our budget?
So in the Marine Corps, we need to get a haircut every week. And it adds up. I mean, to this day, I still get a haircut at least twice a month. But it's just a habit.
Yeah.
But back then, it was every week. And when you're a corporal in the Marine Corps, it's a lot of money.
I'd be like, I remember being you like, can't we cut this? Like, can't you just go twice a month?
I'm like, I wish, but then I'm going to get hazed at work.
Yeah, so no, but you do with what you can, because for some people it'll be like, wow, that's a lot of money you're spending at haircuts. But that was just part of his essential, and especially like your commute, like gas, like your automatic, like your automobile gas is gonna be very different, like cost for one person who's commuting an hour for work versus someone who's working from home. So it fluctuates. A lot of those things are, there's no, I think one thing that I was always trying to find, like, is this how much I'm supposed to spend? I wanted someone to like kind of like
give you the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, I just wanted someone to be like, yep, this is what, you're supposed to do. But
right.
I think you said it perfectly. Like, you are your own unique person, and what's valuable to you is not going to be valuable to someone else.
Right. Yeah. And again, if you're somebody like what you were saying, that you don't like how much we're spending in gas, then cut down your travel, or get a job that's closer, whatever. Like, you have the ability to make these changes on your own. You don't have to wait for somebody to tell you to do that. If it really bothers you that much.
Right.
But if it doesn't, then you just have to be okay with the fact that, yeah, I gotta buy new tires. I gotta fill up my gas tank every week. I got to do oil changes a lot more frequently because I'm driving a lot more. But as long as you're okay with it, because again, it's your budget, it's your money. You decide what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's like the empowering part about having a budget, is just like, I'm making these decisions. No one's making these decisions for me. This is just showing my character.
And that's the big, I guess, aha that a lot of my clients get, is that they expect me to do all of this for them. It's like, no, I'm here to help you. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to give you the pros and cons, but I can't budget for you. I can't prioritize what you really want out of life. You can do that, not me.
And I think I wanted someone to do that for me at first. Like, I wanted someone to tell me, like, hey, this is how much you should be spending on this, and this is how much. And I remember too, like one big one that we did was, we were renting at a really nice place, and it was a little bit above our means
by a lot, but it was awesome. Sky Apartments in Vista.
Shout out to them. It was beautiful. Like, we felt like we were living on a resort. Our paycheck did not reflect that. No. And so then we went and we moved out to a cheaper apartment that fitted a little bit more among our means, and we were able to save a little bit more money, and that's what allowed us to buy our car. But it really does give you that power to really just like, okay, this is what's going on. Are you going to do something about it or not? But nobody's going to tell you, this is what you should be spending your money on. That's up to you to decide, because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, what's valuable to you is not going to be valuable to another person. And this even goes with within even being married, like what I find valuable, sometimes, Jerry may not, and what Jerry finds valuable, I may not find. But at the end of the day, I have peace that if you find that valuable for yourself, you're spending it into something that means something to you, then, go ahead and do that. Just like I go ahead and decide whether I want to spend that money, and if it's going to actually be something that I'm interested in doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, everybody's unique, and I guess just a caveat to what I said earlier, as a financial planner, I do give parameters. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to be like, sorry, you got to figure it out on your own. Like, no, I will tell you, hey, ideally you want to save this much, but if you're not there yet, or you don't feel like that's a priority, you don't have to do it.
Right.
We can start wherever you want to start. But again, it's understanding where you are today and where you want to be. And once you understand that, then it makes these decisions a lot easier, because now you get to prioritize. Do I want to be where I said I want to be, or was I just goofing off?
Right.
now at the end of the day, it's you're accountable to that. So it's your word against yourself.
Right. You're going to be there to really held them accountable to, like, this is the goal that you told me you wanted, not the goal that I set up for you. Right. And here's how to get there. And I think that's definitely giving the client the power to decide what they want out of life. To really...
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody should be telling you what to do.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I definitely, it was nice definitely reflecting our budgeting journey, because we've come a long way from that. And
it was so exciting when we bought our second car. We were living off of one car for I think it was 2 years.
I think it was
2 or 3 years.
And then I crashed it. And then I got in an accident, which is not it was funny because it's we were so happy. We lasted a week. It was 2 weeks maybe with 2 cars. And then it maybe felt like 2 weeks. It was maybe 2 months.
It felt great.
Yeah.
Because, especially being in the Marine Corps where I have no control over my time, it was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Where I'm I might be home at this time, but I might not.
Yeah. So I don't know when I will be back with the car. Yeah, those were
crazy times.
Yeah, that's what I would say. So I agree with that. I mean, there's so many memories that I have about, and even then eventually getting rid of our car payments, that was a big deal too.
Yeah.
That was something, and now
because the other one was totaled, so we had to buy another car.
And so eventually we paid off both our cars, and we said to ourselves,
I mean, we still have those cars to this day.
Yeah.
Again, it's why are we going to spend money on another depreciating asset if it still runs, it still has 4 tires?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, and it's still one of our big goals to buy. I mean, one of our goals is to buy a car in full, not have that automobile payment. It's just something. It's just a habit that now we've built, even with our furniture. We pay it in full because it's if we can't, then that means it's probably not within our means. So those are just some of the habits. So that's all come from budgeting. So that's why I get really excited talking about this, because it's very near and dear to me, because I'm the one who actually built out all the Excel spreadsheets. I was the one
If it wasn't for her, we would not be where we are today.
Oh, thanks. No, it was a teamwork, definitely. You were on board. You're yeah, I don't have any more money.
You get to a point when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you get to a point where you're screw this, I'm done. We got to figure this out because it's exhausting.
Right.
And that's what led to us actually taking action.
Yeah, looking back, some of it was not we're laughing about it now, but it was not fun. Having only one car, sleeping on the floor because we couldn't afford a bed. Sleeping on our futon from IKEA, and so, but it's all of that built our why, and so that's why I think we're just so grateful about the journey and where we've got into, because
financial planning,
and which will eventually hit. But I just want to also mention, I feel budgeting helped a lot with the money habits, but it did not help us build wealth.
Right.
Wealth is different. That's but because I was working on all these habits, it just made it easier to get to that next level a lot quicker. So it was not overnight. It did take time, but I think the important thing is to start and budgeting. And that's why I think I'm so passionate, because of everything that we have gone through, but also because it's pretty simple to get started. I think it's the easiest versus investing, at least in my personal opinion. Investing was just not something I was interested in doing. I think that was more Jerry who took that on. Mm-hmm. So, and then even then we hired help, because we're you know what, we actually don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a lot. So it's a lot to do all on your own.
Yeah, it is a lot. But I think this concludes our 3rd episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. And please let us know if you took anything away from this episode, next month's episode will actually be about setting a financial foundation, having a backup plan, which that one's also a very important topic. I mean, I think they're all important, but it's going to be a good one. And so we hope that you join us, and feel free to follow us on Instagram at Building Wealth from Scratch. And if you are interested in starting your saving and investing journey, I highly encourage you to book a free introductory call. We are at, you can find us at Confianza Wealth on Instagram, or you can also go to our website, confianzawealth.com, and book your free introductory call. And with that, I believe
That's it.
I think that's it. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Confianza Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor in the state of California. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Confianza Wealth Management and its representatives are properly registered or exempt from registration. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized advice or a guarantee that you will achieve a desired result. You should consult with an appropriate tax and/or financial advisor for advice specific to your situation. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the host/interviewee on the date of the program and are subject to change. The information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell, or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell the investments mentioned. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Investments involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment or strategy will be suitable or profitable for a client's portfolio. All investment strategies can result in profit or loss.